Now we're going to move from the topic of vanishing point to something that's every bit as cool and even more versatile, if you can imagine. We're going to be talking about smart objects, and smart objects allow you to apply non-destructive transformations. They allow you to duplicate an object multiple times and base all those duplicates on a single original, as we will see inside of this file. And then finally, we'll end up things by seeing how you can import an external file like an Illustrator file and manipulate it over and over again after you've placed it in as a smart object. All right, so I'm going to start off with the topic of non-destructive transformations, which is a big, huge, major milestone inside the development of Photoshop here. Notice down in the layers palette, I've got two layers, upper votive and lower votive, and they are what you'd expect them to be, the top guy and the bottom guy here. Now, we're going to apply a standard destructive transformation to upper votive, and then we're going to take lower votive, convert it into a smart object, and apply a non-destructive transformation. So with the upper votive layer selected, I'm going to go ahead and press Control-T or Command-T on the Mac to enter the free transform mode. And I'm going to go ahead and scale this object. I'm pressing the Shift key as I'm scaling this layer down to a very tiny size, like 8.7%, just by way of demonstration here. And then I'm going to go ahead and accept that modification. Now, if you know anything about Photoshop, you know we have just applied a destructive transformation. That is to say, we've interpolated this object down to a very small size and reduced the number of pixels inside this votive layer here. Now I'm going to press Control-T or Command-T again to once again enter the free transform mode. And let's say I now want to make the image as big as it was before, or roughly as big as it was before. I'll go ahead and Shift-drag this corner handle here in order to make it big. And you can see that things are not going to work out well for us. This does not bode well that we can see these big chunky pixels here. And sure enough, when I press the return key or the enter key here on the PC, it ends up being very fuzzy with some horrible edges. This is a destructive transformation. And this is why the rule of thumb inside of Photoshop has been for years and years, you apply one transformation pass, you get all your scaling and rotating done, and that's that. You are done. Well, no more. Inside of Photoshop CS2, you no longer have to worry about that as long as you take the time to first convert the layer to a smart object. I'll show you how that works. I'm going to go down to the Layers palette here. I'm going to go ahead and click Lower Votive to select that layer. Then I'm going to right-click to the right of the layer votive name, and I'm going to choose Group into New Smart Object. As soon as you do that, you get this special little icon next to the thumbnail. And that's telling you that this is now a separate file that is saved inside of your original file. It's not saved as a separate file on disk. It's saved as a separate image inside this same file. And if you'd prefer to get to that command from the menu, you can go up to the Layer menu. You can choose Smart Objects, and then you can choose Group into Smart Object. So that works as well. Anyway, I've already got a smart object, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to press Control-T or Command-T once again. I'm going to scale this guy down to a very teeny-weeny size, and I'm going to press the Enter key, or the Return key on the Mac, to accept that transformation. It is very, very dinky. It looks like it's lost all those pixels. It looks like it's been interpolated down. But all this transformation so far has happened on the fly. Now watch this. I'll press Control-T again, or Command-T on the Mac, and look up here inside the options bar. Notice that, for one thing, Photoshop remembers my transformation settings because these settings are applied parametrically, that is to say non-destructively, and I could change these settings if I wanted to by turning on this little chain icon so that I am changing my settings proportionally. So I'll go ahead and raise it to 50%, and that will actually make the image bigger, and notice that it stays nice and smooth. Or I could just go ahead and Shift-drag this corner handle to make it big. And I probably don't want to take it any bigger than it was originally because smart objects can't magically invent pixels. They just keep your original pixels intact. So now I'll press the Enter key or the Return key, and look how sharp that is. Totally true, non-destructive transformations, the kind of thing we have never seen inside Photoshop before.